So the paragraph we are going to practice today is public archaeology. Let's quickly understand what is the context of this paragraph. So just let me read through this for you guys. The aim of this book is to give the reader an overview of study and practice in the field of public archaeology. It offers a series of snapshots of important ideas and areas of work brought together as an introduction. An inevitably brief and incomplete one to one of the most challenging and rewarding parts of the wider archaeological discipline. Read the book from cover to cover and you will have a good working understanding of public archaeology a complicated, rich and diverse field. Knowledge of some of the most significant and iconic examples. Public archaeology in action. Let's try to understand what does this paragraph meaning. So the context of this paragraph revolves around introducing a book on public archaeology. Makes sense. Its objectives and how readers can benefit from it. The text is structured to highlight the book's purpose, qualities, and usefulness in understanding public archaeology, a complex and diverse field. Now let's move to the first blank. Here we are having options. So the options we are having because, albeit, unless, despite. Let's understand the meaning of because. Because introduces a reason or cause, but the sentence expresses a contrast rather than explaining why the introduction is brief. For example, she stayed home because she was feeling unwell. He was late because of heavy traffic. The second one is albeit. What does albeit mean? Albeit introduces a contrast within the same sentence, right? Acknowledging that while the introduction is brief and incomplete, it still serves as an overview. Makes sense. Let's understand with an example. The solution was effective, albeit temporary. Makes sense? So it is the right option here. But let's understand why we are not choosing unless and despite. What does unless mean? Unless introduces a condition which doesn't fit the contrast needed in this sentence, right? So, for example, you cannot enter unless you have a valid pass. I won't go unless you come with me. The next one is despite. Despite indicates opposition between two ideas, but albeit provides a softer contrast, right? Despite the heavy rain, the event continued as planned. Despite his objections, the decision was finalized. So the right option is albeit. Let's move to the next one. Here we are having public archaeology a complicated. Options are for, along, with, as. For suggests purpose or reason, but as correctly describes the field's nature. First of all, let's understand the meaning of for. We have discussed many times, but for suggests purpose or reason, right? She worked hard for the success of her project. This tool is useful for measuring temperature. Not a right option here. Let's move to the next one. Along. Along indicates movement or alignment with something, unsuitable for defining public archaeology's qualities, right? She walked along the riverbank. He worked along with his team to finish the task. Next one is with. The sentence describes the qualities of public archaeology, right? A complicated, rich, and diverse field, and links them to its identity. Make sense? But when we talk about with, so with implies association, which is not appropriate describing the inherent qualities or identity of public archaeology. Makes sense? So the right option is as. Why? Because as is used to explain the role or qualities of the field, directly aligning with the sentence's focus. Make sense? So what we are going to do, we'll be choosing as a right option here. The next one is despite of, whatever, as well as though. Let's try to understand the meanings before choosing the right option. Despite of never takes off. The correct phrase is simply despite, making this option grammatically incorrect. Right? So despite the difficulties, she succeeded. Despite his lack of experience, he performed well. So here we are using off with despite. That's what we're trying to say. Despite never takes off. So the correct phrase is simply despite. And we are making this option grammatically incorrect. So despite of definitely is a wrong option. Next one is whatever. Whatever refers to an unspecified choice. Whatever refers to an unspecified choice or condition which doesn't fit the sentence structure. For example, whatever happens, I will support your decision. You can choose whatever you like from the menu. Makes sense. As well as correctly introduces additional information, linking knowledge of public archaeology to significant examples. Let's understand with example. She excels in research as well as teaching, right? So it is a correct fit in this blank, but let's understand why we're not choosing as though. As though is used to indicate resemblance or hypothetical situations, which doesn't fit the intended meaning definitely. He spoke as though he knew everything. She ran as though her life depended on it. So the correct option we go with as well as knowledge of some of the most significant and iconic examples dash public archaeology in action. So options are in, on, by, off. In suggests location, whereas off correctly established possession, right? In suggests location. Doesn't fit in this context. He found great interest in ancient history. She specializes in architecture. Move to the on. On suggests placement or focus, right? The report focuses on environmental concerns. The book provides insights on classical literature. Makes sense. Not a right option here. Let's see what does by means. By refers to authorship or means of doing something, right? And it is unsuitable for linking examples and public archaeology. Let's understand with an example. The novel was written by a famous historian. The study was conducted by a team of researchers. Let's move to the next one, which is off. Off establishes the relationship between examples and public archaeology in action, right? Showing possession or association. So off is the right option here. For example, the study of ancient civilizations is fascinating. So we'll go with off. Last blank of this paragraph having options, even, that, however, constraint. Let's try to understand the meanings. Even suggests emphasize or contrast, but does not introduce opposition effectively, right? Even the most experienced athletes make mistakes. She continued working even though she was tired. Not a right option here. Let's move to the next one. That introduces defining clauses but is not suited for introducing contrast. The book that I borrowed was fascinating. Next one is however. However introduces contrast, acknowledging that while the book offers different approaches, readers will still gain a solid understanding. However difficult the challenge may be, persistence will lead to success. So it is a right option for this blank. Let's move to the next one to see why this considering is not chosen. Considering introduces evaluation or reasoning, right? Which definitely not fit the contrast. For example, considering the circumstances, the outcome was expected. She handled the situation well considering the pressure, right? So the right option here is however. So we have ended up with correct options.